stage CK, Pierre-Olivier, and Maija. Thank you.
Thanks, Arnaud. Welcome, Pierre-Olivier and Maija. Are you tired of listening to me since morning? But every time we have some interesting discussion, and while we are waiting for the party to begin in like a half an hour, we're going to have very interesting conversation about workplace. If I kind of summarize the topic about, and workspace could be a room, workspace could be this exhibition space, workspace could be the entire Singapore. So we're just discussing over lunch also what does workspace mean. So I want to start with the question first. Because there's a lot of discussion about companies getting into open workspace environment, digital workspace environment. At the same time, I'm not sure if you have read a report from Harvard. According to them, some research, open workspace actually are not efficient. They still think the closed cubicle workspace are more efficient to work. So what does this open workspace or digital workspace mean? So I'm not sure who wants to go first.
Sure, there we go. Open workspace is talked a lot in the media, and I definitely think it's important to get the terminology right, because open office is not modern multi-use activity-based office. So open office is a place where people usually have their own seat. They're assigned to a place. They don't have a lot of support spaces, so that doesn't enable productivity, whereas an activity-based office, which is today's workspace, you have multiple different types of spaces that support the people in their work.
And moreover, what we see a lot today is flex office coming to the open space. I mean, you have the open space, and in order to optimize it, more and more companies are moving to flex office. I mean, you come, you take the free desk you want, and you work on this. So these are two things important.
Yeah, so let's get the definition correct, what is workspace mean. And with that, let's take another minute for each of you to share a bit of introduction of who you are, what the company does, so the people know what the role you play in this whole digital workspace / built environment.
I'll go first. All right. So Rapal has been in the industry for almost 30 years. We serve global clients with our workplace management software. About 34 million square meters are actually managed with the system. And the smart office solutions have been added a few years ago. And obviously the need goes back into the changing way of work. So flexibility, being able to work from anywhere, anytime, is something that is really changing the market. My passion is really in workplace. I'm very much connected globally within workplace evolutionaries, people that are very passionate about workplaces and how the changing work is actually affecting the walls, the technology, and the social aspect of the work.
Hello, so I'm Pierre-Olivier Bessol, CEO and founder of Ubigreen. And we at Ubigreen focused on building management and operation improvement. So we first worked on energy management, I mean everything that is consuming energy, fluids, and so on. And then worked to the workplace also 3 years ago in order to provide to our customer who are real estate managers complete solutions, I mean sensors, solutions, web solutions, and service in order to understand what happened in the building, in order to optimize the performance and help them to improve the comfort and the way they are using these buildings.
Thanks for that. And I've been part of various discussions on smart cities and smart buildings. And as you might know, real estate, I think if I'm not wrong, you know better, is a $1 trillion business, brick and mortar business. And traditionally, the companies or the builders, the architects, they're slowly transforming them. So it's still pretty new when you talk about digital in those environments, right? So if I talk about technology point of view, what are the typical challenges a solutions company like yourself have to go through? We will talk about the business side of it shortly, but what are the typical technical challenges which you have to deal with when a building or the workplace will have various systems, different HVAC system, different BMS system, there's an access system, a lot of other systems goes in there. So how do you have to deal with these technical things?
Well, the whole idea is to build a platform that you can obviously integrate with other solutions as well. So openness, open APIs is definitely the key. obviously Sigfox is a great partner in providing, solutions that can be easily implemented into the existing building stock. A lot of times we talk about new buildings and how they have a lot of high tech in them, but new buildings are only, 10% of the entire stock. So really creating a platform that supports the different parties, whether it's the building management system, whether it's the space management system, whether it is the different operators that need the information, service providers, etc.
Yes, definitely. The integration is a big point of the way we are working with our customers because there's a lot of existing system. The other point we focused on is to make it simple. I mean, we had in the past so many companies, so many software telling to their customer that it's complex, costly, it's difficult to integrate. Now we have technologies, we have software, we have network and so on in order to make it simple from the very beginning, I mean setup, deployment and so on, to the operation and the management of this. So I think it's a way, the key point today in order to be able to deploy on large number of buildings and systems.
And if I kind of take a step back, the entire built environment cycle, which is sometimes super long, from the point you find a land, you start do landscaping, you start architecting the things. So as you mentioned, like 5 to 10% are only the new projects, greenfield sites. But most of the buildings, most of the spaces out there exist. This building exists. Nice. And the challenge for the typical FM team, the facility management team, which mostly will be, I think, the partners or the clients in this case, they have a struggle to manage what they have been given. Right? And that's where comes the challenge of the cost, the integrations, all this. So how does company as yourself take approach to sit with them to not only look at the process workflow, but also the cost element out of it? So any example, maybe you can share that how you took up the journey to sit with a particular client from the business thought process, and then we talk about technologies, be it putting a sensor there, advanced AI, managing all those things. So a bit more on the business thought process side of it.
Yes. Well, in fact, the thing is that we all focused on the existing buildings also. I mean, of course, we are talking about new buildings that are, with a conception integrating this kind of system, but we work a lot on the existing buildings in which there is a lot to improve, a lot to understand, and a lot to make. So finally, we can start very quickly in all those customers. And we can start with a very short return of investments, I mean less than one year. And this is also a key point in order to be able to deploy. You invest in our kind of technologies, you are able to save this money within the year. It's really important for this to help deploy quite quickly. And the other thing also is to be able to involve as much as possible the people that are inside. We are talking about technology, networks, sensors, and so on. But we have to provide to the users of the building with new added service in order to ease the way they are using this building.
Absolutely, and it's not just about the cost anymore. One of the key aspects now is also employee experience. It's about bringing the digital tools that help people's workday as they go about. And we have a lot of applications for basic personal life, making it easy, like knowing when the bus comes to the bus stop and all that, or paying for parking. But at the same time, the workplaces where people spend a lot of their time are actually not, up to the speed yet. So I think the technology already enables it, but it's also about educating the customers, really talking about, what the tools can do for their employees, as well as saving costs, and of course, thinking about the sustainability aspect as well, so saving energy and so on.
In fact, we have in front of us many kind of customers. The customer who manage the budget, the money, who wants to improve this to lower the cost and provide comfort. We have human resources who want to provide the best environment to the people who are in this building. And we have all these real-time services that provides. I mean, when you come to the parking, you have the number of free places in the parking. Now you can have this in your building also in order to find as quickly as possible the that is prepared for you and that is free at the moment. So this kind of services helps to deploy quite quickly.
I think you give a pretty good example of the parking. For example, if I have to go park my vehicle within, let's say in this parking, I have to circle around to find the parking. But if I know which level, which parking slot is available, I just go direct themselves. So that 10 minutes of saving not only relate to the sustainability because I'm now burning less fuel, carbon footprints, plus also saving my time, which could be more expensive, right? So this is how I think we kind of justify the ROI. You want to add something there?
Well, that's exactly right. And we're trying to make the facility manager or the person who's buying the solution a hero because it is a win-win-win for everybody. You know, they're creating or collecting data based on which they can optimize their spaces. They can do the cost savings, but at the same time, it's the first time they're not just doing the cost savings aspect. It's also helping the employees out. So it makes their role a lot better than what it used to be, I think.
Yeah, but at the same time, as I mentioned, I do converse with a couple of the FM as well as building and various other stakeholders, be the architects or FM companies providing solutions. One of the challenges, and nothing surprise here, this always look at the cost benefit. Right? So when you talk about ROI, typically the companies run on two number, which is the top line or the bottom lines. The difference between two makes the decision on the investment. So when we are discussing with the customers, and this is question, actually I'm asking on behalf of, I'm sure, other of them, we can always look at how much I can save, like efficiencies, productivities, and all those things. But the real creativity comes in, how can I help to make more out of it, right? So to do that, it's really thought process, the domain knowledge, a lot of creativity comes in. So how you, as a company, kind of bring those thought processes, not just save, okay, I save you the cost, save the energy, but now what after that? And any thoughts on that?
Well, there's a lot of solutions that we can always add on. So many start with the very basic aspect on, saving energy or saving the cost. But then at the same time, you can bring in solutions that maybe help the service provider to optimize how much food is being put out. So bringing that sustainability aspect there as well. Or it can be ideas on how to improve the employee experience, on putting out service requests, helping people to create a better work environment, all kinds of things like this that can add value.
And what is interesting to see is that working with these customers to optimize the workspace, we start to think with them with a new business model of the way they are managing the spaces. For example, the cleaning services. More and more real estate managers want to change the way they are doing this. I mean, you don't have to clean 10 times an environment or a space that is not used, but on the opposite, you have to clean more the area that is a lot used. So they start to think about new business models in terms of services in order to take the information of occupancy, of the way they are using in order to impact the business model of this kind of services.
That's exactly right. And obviously the ideal model would be where we would actually get part of the cost savings as the fee for us. But at the same time, there's of course some time limits and challenges on, for example, reducing space usually means that you have to give up a lease that can be, a year or two from now. But also thinking about using the data from sensors in optimizing the energy use. I mean, that could be also priced based on, how much energy you save and so on.
All this is finally helps this real estate manager to reinvent the way they are managing the buildings. In the past, it was only square meters or number of desks that was paid by the business unit that were using the square meters. Now they are completely moving to something else, directly impacted by the way they are using it. Okay, and it's really interesting to see that these business models are moving, and they didn't have moves for so many years before.
I mean, since it's more of a conversation, and we were talking about it over the lunch, for the benefit of the guests who are not from Singapore, so we're discussing about two use cases I mentioned to you as well. And repeat again, so ERP2 project, electronic road pricing project in Singapore, is pretty much like a space management for Singapore, right? Because when you travel on the road, the idea is how do I manage the congestions on the road? That's the LTS mandate. But if current ERP, which you have the physical gantry, people are smart. So today I know at 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. I have got this much of toll to pay, so I'll switch the route. So problem of transportation, congestion, move from point A to point B. But now the new project of ERP2, which is basically charging you where you are and charging you how much you ride or drive, is I'm going to charge you. So this way basically help Singapore LTA to manage the infrastructure, manage the roads and other things better. Another quick example is those who are in Singapore might be using this application called parking.sg, which is one of the best and simple application I use. What it helps that earlier I used to physically tear a paper ticket to park my vehicle, right? But now I can sit here, park my vehicle at any public parking, and I can increase or decrease the timing if I'm kind of finishing my meeting early, so I can go back and get that even 2 cents back for the matter. But if you look at from URA or LTA perspective, the data they're capturing out of it, and I'm not sure if they're doing it yet or not, they can figure it out. This guy might be riding Maserati, this guy might be Toyota, this guy might be a normal bike or Harley Davidson bike, and the behavior they show on the road. So let's build supporting infrastructure. Let's build some pubs, or let's build some childcare system. So this is where, if I now narrow down to workplace also, which you mentioned about activity-based workflow, the same place, the school today is about teaching kids, and maybe in the evening they have Zumba classes. The activity changes, how the digital workplace will enable those kind of seamless transition. Right, so this is what, yeah.
It's about optimizing the resources that we have. Everybody knows that we're not meeting like the targets for CO2 emission reduction, for example. We're building the city of the size of a Paris every week in the world. So really optimizing what we already have is just in general a necessity for us to meet the climate change or climate CO2 reduction objectives. I was going to touch on the point previously that was made about different business models. We also see that a lot of service providers, such as furniture companies, are actually using this data to also optimize the environment. So the business models are new. When they know which spaces, what kind of furniture is actually being used, they can change, 10% of the furniture every year. So we're creating an environment that really changes based on the needs all the time, instead of making, the change project once every 10 years and not really supporting then the changing work.
And you are mentioning the city. Indeed, the building is part of the city. And we see, we share our apartments, we share the cars. Now we are able to share the buildings, the parkings, and so on. And, private companies who in the past pay for the whole building are now also thinking about this kind of new service. I mean, sharing the parking during the night because it's not used by the occupants, sharing some parts of the building depending on the occupancy in order to improve the cost. So everything is coming like that, and it's really moving fast, always based on the way to finally to pay what you really need and what you really use.
Exactly. We have some great use cases. One of the largest financial institutions in the Nordics has actually closed down 3 different branch offices, and they're moving 1,000 people into their campus. And without the information that we get, the data from the sensors, they would never be able to do that. The great part is that they're also investing some of the saved money into better ergonomics, to more, a better environment in general, better furniture, whatever it is. So, optimizing the user experience, it doesn't mean that they're being crammed into a facility. It's really about the people are already working flexibly and they're not optimally using those resources. So really great use cases.
So just continue on the furniture part which you mentioned. In fact, Miss, about a year back, I was talking to a Japanese traditional furniture manufacturing company, and now the next generation has taken over the business. They're building up the connected furnitures. So what it means is that today you put a lot of sensors, be it occupancy sensors or even sensor controlling your Alexa to change the behavior. They're embedding within the furniture. And the good part was that since they have been building the furniture for 20 years, they know the cost dynamics there. So the good part, they've been able to bring the cost down to connected furniture to a normal furniture almost to the same level. Right, so the next business was, which we were discussing, that, okay, can I now move? I'll take back your old furniture, put in my new furniture, and rent it to you and recover the money over a period of time. So those kind of business models, just thinking from your point of view, as I share that we can help to get company from stage A to stage B, where a lot of all this productivity and efficiency we can address. Once those targets are achieved, how do we sustain there? Right? So that the stickiness with as a customer or as a partner remains, but more we can do there. Any thoughts on that?
Do you want to go first?
Maybe just to make it easier, which I gave you the analogy also. So we were having a discussion with the company about cybersecurity because one of the topic as a company we address cybersecurity in IoT and OT sector. So when I was having a conversation with the company, because they do have a challenges as in today, but interesting point was that okay, if you implement your cybersecurity solution, and good KPI is there's no attack, right? So after there are no attacks for a year, somebody will ask at the top leader, if there was no attack, why did you buy the solution, right? So how do we justify that, okay, I help you to get there, but how do I remain there? So in the building environment or the facility environment, any thoughts? It's a very open question.
It is a very open question. It's hard to answer too. But I would just say very generally, working really closely with the customer, because I think in the video that was previously shown, solving everyday problems, all of this stuff goes back into being really close to the customer, being close to their daily processes, and optimizing different aspects of it. So I think it's just about working really closely with the customer and solving the new challenges that they have.
Yes, well, I think it's really important to say that we are not imagining all the solutions. We have to work with them. We have to work with the occupants, the human resources, the technical people, and so on. And we learn all together, I mean, with our partners who are there also, in order to provide this kind of new business model. And it's going very fast today, and we have to be.
I got one more question, so you guys can start thinking of any question which you have for the panel. So my question, which is, again, very non-technical, but I personally see there's a big need to address those things, which is we spoke about organizational behavior, the change management, the thought process. And I'll give you an example here. So we were discussing one of the large hospital chain here with the FM head. Right, so when you talk about, as you mentioned about the facility management, those not so techie safe guys who clean the spaces, right? So one of the challenges which he told me that, see, if you're going to put a band here to track those people, one thing they're going to come and throw it away because they have this perception that somebody is going to fire me tomorrow, right? So how do we bring those people on the ground in the journey that's not to kind of track you or in some negative way, but actually help you in case you fall down, in case you are not able to do the job which you're supposed to do, or in case something goes wrong, we can help you there. So how do you bring not just those C-suite guys in the discussion, but also the guy on the, be it the factory floor, be it in the cleaners or hoarders, and any?
Yes, the change management is also important. I mean, our customer communicate a lot. I mean, especially in France, it's really important to communicate before putting this kind of sensors under the desk. There is, organization in the companies who check if everything is correct in terms of health and so on. And even with this, we had people, I mean, if ever we send only one message in the night, some people have headache during the day telling that this sensor is giving this headache. I think that the best answer to this is to provide added value to these occupants. I mean, they all have their phone in the pocket, throwing a lot of message and data and radio, etc. And they keep it here because it gives a lot of information, a lot of added value. So, of course, we have to talk about the technical points, the cost, the return of investment costs, and so on. But we really have to think about all the added value we push to the occupants in order for them to get this technology to help them.
I completely agree with you. It's about helping the person, helping the people out, and communicating that very openly. Also, it kind of has to be seamless. So you want it to support the basic day, but the people who go to the office, their job is not to worry about whether the air conditioning works or whether there is availability. So you need to make the basic routines throughout their day very easy. So the workflow actually becomes easier using technology as smart office solutions. Also being very open about the data. So what you use it for, communicate it, show, because we all think like this, I'm here from 8 to 4. Well, if you have a 1,000-person company, not everybody is there from 8 to 4 working on the desk. So really communicating the wide data, the big data, and making it understandable for everybody.
And I think also we have to work, and we worked at Ubigreen a lot on this, on the reliability of the data we provide. I mean, IoT is quite new with the companies. You set up quite easily a sensor under the desk or on the ceiling, but if ever the data is not reliable, is not correct, maybe 2 or 3 years, everybody will lose. I mean, us, the customer, the occupants, who will say, well, the data provided is not correct, I will not see anymore. So I think we all have to work on this, especially when we deploy a large number of sensors all over the world. So we have to think about this in order to have all our customers confident with this kind of data we provide.
Another quick question. I won't name the company, but I think you can figure it out. So one of the largest e-commerce company in the world. I'm not sure how much correct it is, but there was a recent news a couple of months back. They were tracking the worker. According to the AI system, the worker was not performing according to what they classify as a performance. Without even HR getting involved, the guy was fired. So automated system fired him, sent him letter, and boom, gone. So I don't think we want that kind of digital workplace where there's no human interaction. But similarly, I was watching another documentary, a company which is brick and mortar business and doing way better. If you look at from the human perspective, they're spending all their time and effort of technology to enable the workers so that they can be more efficient to deliver what they should be delivering, rather than tracking them down, are they working 8 to 9 or not, and all those kind of things. So with that, any questions from the team on workspace, digital workspace? Any comments? We didn't discuss a lot of technical because I think technology for me is enabler. Right? So it's all about what the business value, what are the use case, what are the problems, what are we trying to solve, which sensors, doesn't matter. That comes later, but it's more about the business problem, the value. If we can't justify those things, technology, there are 10,000 sensors out there in the market or the platforms out there. I think that's what you guys are doing great, that taking a step back and working with the customers, respective customer in the domain, that sitting with them to understand what are the problems they're trying to solve, and then bring the technologies and the platform what fit for them to solve the real problem. So as a last comment, any takeaway, any message for the audience, be it to partner, be it to work together, any message you want to give it to them?
Well, absolutely. I think we want to be wise of the time. We will be at the Connected Inventions booth also tomorrow. So if any technical questions or interest in providing these types of solutions within your market, we'll be happy to answer the questions. I think the key point there, what you actually made, is to work with the client, but also have the industry knowledge. So there's a lot of tech companies that come into the industry without really knowing what workspace is about, how the work is changing, how it's affecting the actual core processes of the organization. So having that knowledge within the service provider is an asset, I think, for the partners as well as for the clients.
Absolutely. So any industry, whichever, like I said, tech comes first, but domain knowledge is very critical. An organization may not have it. That's where the partnership comes in. That okay, you are building some tech or some AI, work with the domain expert to help you define the problems. A well-defined problem is half problem solved. So any message from you, Oliver?
Yes, you were talking about the technology. Indeed, I think the technology is not the point. Now we know that it is working. I mean, some of our customers, sorry for this, but don't even know what Sigfox is, okay? But the thing is that it works, and they have the data on the right place at the right time. So I think we really have to focus on the business transformation of this, and not focus on the way, I mean, I often heard some partners telling, well, I need a sensor to be sure that it works. Well, we'll have deployed 100,000 sensors now. It works. Sigfox works. Technology works. We have to focus on the business transformation with the end customers who want to transform.
I think that's a very wonderful message that each of the company you see here is here because it's about partnership. So Sigfox driving the partnership, driving the ecosystem, working with the partners. Sigfox will not be, if I can make on behalf, will not be here because of you guys. So you are the one who are driving Sigfox forward, and we need more of you guys to take it to the next level, which Ludovic has a vision. I don't know how many millions of devices. Exactly. Hopefully next year we see maybe not 2-digit, maybe 3-digit of devices and connectivity out there. With that, I would like to thank both of you guys. Thanks for your time, and it was a wonderful discussion. Like I said, any further conversation you want to have, booth is there, just across few meters away. Reach out to them, or let's grab some beers together and discuss. Let's give a round of applause to them, as well as to yourself for staying for the whole evening. Thank you so much.